Welcome to the Stack of Stats podcast. I'm your host, Pamela Maldonado, joined by whale_capper, and we're here to bring you all the analytics behind the ATP bets. We have the US Open on deck. It is the fourth major of the year in the ATP, and I am so excited because it's kind of a big deal major because of Novak Djokovic. Whale capper Drew Dinsick, can you tell me how excited are you for this tournament?
You know, this really closes the book for me on the tennis season. This is the last tournament that I bet. So it always has a soft spot, you know, like it's a little bittersweet. Like I'm excited for it, but I kind of know this is the end, you know?
I know.
And but at the same time, like I'm ready to close the book on 2021 of tennis and focus on some football.
Absolutely. I'm so ready for football. Today we had week 0. It was a great day. I took Illinois plus 230 on the money line.
Nice.
That came through. Thank you, Scott Frost, for being such a bad coach. And I'm gonna be real. Let's be real. This is my personal podcast, so I feel like I can say it. I'm a little buzzed.
Nice. Well,
I am in Vegas. I am in Vegas.
Yeah. What happens in Vegas gets recorded on a podcast.
It's recorded on a podcast. I had one hell of a work day yesterday. And today I decided to say, you know what? Have some fun, let loose. You work hard and you play harder. And today I've enjoyed myself. So here we go. Let's talk some
I'll tell you what,
Open.
That is an awesome mantra. Awesome life thesis. I absolutely love it. Work hard, play hard. That's the way I live it as well. So fantastic. Fantastic way to start.
Looking at the US Open, we have Novak Djokovic, my main man. He is my main squeeze. It is minus 150 favorite over the rest of the field. And then you have second to Daniil Medvedev plus 350, Alexander Zverev, I'm going to start some words. Alexander Zverev plus 550.
It's tricky even when you're sober. Yeah.
Stefanos Tsitsipas plus 800 and Matteo Berrettini plus 2,500 to round out the top 5. When you saw this draw, last time we talked on the podcast, it was talking about the Roland Garros, and we talked about when you have a favorite that you like, there's 2 options. You can either take him straight up pre-futures as the favorite, or you can take him on a money line rollover parlay. When you saw this draw with Novak Djokovic, what was your very first instinct?
Well, we haven't seen Novak play since the Olympics, and I don't need to remind you that did not end well for Mr. Djokovic.
Exactly.
The semifinal loss to Zverev was eye-opening. There was some pretty surprising statistics that came out of that suggested that maybe he's not 100%. Maybe he's feeling a little bit of the pressure of the run that has been 2021 to this point, and that's got me scared off. Let me fill you in.
Okay. Let me fill you in some of those stats. It was 56% first serve points won. His average
is 65.
38% second serve points won.
Yikes.
His average is 76. So now, do you think that it was the pressure of the Golden Slam, of the Calendar Slam, or do you think that it was the surface itself? It didn't help, and Zverev was just in a better position to take over Djokovic.
Well, Zverev is clearly on a heater right now, so that's got to be factored in. Zverev was playing really, really well. He played really, really well in Cincinnati, and and you said, what was my first reaction to the draw? It was, Zverev's on his half of the draw. So the 2 most dangerous men in this tournament that are not named Novak Djokovic are Sasha Zverev and Daniil Medvedev. If Djokovic expects to win this title and complete the Calendar Slam, he's going to have to beat both of those men. He's not going to get someone else to do it for him, at least not the way that I see this draw shaping up. Exactly. And I think clearly the quality of play you had from Zverev in the Olympics was not a fluke. He's peaking right now. Right. And then secondly, the conditions were not in his favor, not just the court speed, the surface, etc., but the heat. It's always been a little bit tough for him to overcome this, the extreme oppressive heat, humidity, particularly when he has to play during the day. And so, I do worry a bit about how the semifinals and finals are going to shape up for him here now between, just between who he's going to have to face and how he's going to have to do it. But to kind of go back to your key point, if you're a Djokovic backer in this tournament, which to this point I am not,
neither am I.
Your best bet, bet him against Zverev, bet him against Medvedev. No one's going to do the hard work for him. No one's doing it for him this time. He's going to have to do it. He's going to have to do it him damn self. At Wimbledon, there was really no one that was going to be a huge threat. The bet, like you just like sat back and watched someone else beat Federer and, watch someone else, take out Tsitsipas and, the rest was history, path was clear for him. He's going to have to do the hard work himself. But that said, quarter one, this is a cherry draw. This is a cake. This is a cakewalk.
It really is.
They gave him a cakewalk. And I think, look, I'm not a conspiracy guy in general. I don't believe in conspiracy theories in general.
Okay, I 100% do.
You know where I'm going with this. You know where I'm going with
this.
US
Open, no, 100%.
You know where I'm going with this.
Absolutely.
This was a fixed draw because they have no Nadal, they have no Federer. Okay, so already the tournament is feeling some pressure. Like, no Serena, by the way. Like some of the names aren't here, which means
no Dominic Thiem, who won in 2020.
Defending champion, not here. God, great point. I forgot about that. A lot of pressure on the tournament organizers to make sure that the big names are there in week 2. You can't accidentally put a tough test in Djokovic's way and risk not having him there for the second week of the slam.
Exactly.
So the fact that he got a cake draw, kind of predictable, I guess. Not a shocker.
And just to like further exaggerate your point, I actually have tickets to the US Open. And one of the things that I noticed, I'm going to New York on Tuesday. One of the things that I noticed was that based off the draw, I was like, okay, I'm good. I am set. I'm going to see Djokovic. I'm going to see Karatsev. I'm going to see Hurkacz. I'm going to see all of these players in the round 2 of the US Open. But then you actually lay it out. And one of the things that they revised was that, because these bigger names, there's less of them this year. We're going to alter the day instead. And now it's not playing out to where they're going to see Monday and then Wednesday. It's going to be, we're actually going to play them Tuesday, and then we'll figure it out what happens after. So the US Open is very aware of, we don't have the biggest names in the field. We're going to try to capitalize off of ticket selling. And now we're going to clump them into one grouping, either on Wednesday morning, Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night is most likely what we're going to see. And so based off of a ticket seller, it is, all right, I'm fucked. Because what I thought what typically happens in a draw, which is we'll have the number 1 face off on a Monday. We'll have the number 1 face off again on a Wednesday. Well, now they're starting off on a Tuesday, and that throws everything off.
Got it.
From a ticket seller.
Yeah, that makes sense. And they're in a tight spot. I get it. New York is kind of, you have a tennis crowd in New York that is paying attention and will respect, they do know what's going on. And I think if you take a giant step back, is this going to be an entertaining US Open? Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. That's the safest bet you can make. This is going to be very, very entertaining. If you watched any of Toronto, if you watched any of Cincinnati, these men are all in excellent form, and they are going after the greatest that has ever played in Djokovic.
A majority of them are in excellent form, except for Novak Djokovic.
Well, no, that's just it. Like, if Djokovic was at his French Open, Wimbledon level, then it would be like, oh, cool, all these youngsters are going to get mowed down by him, But instead, he's kind of come a little bit back to the pack, and you have all these guys peaking. It's going to be super competitive. It's going to be a ton of fun. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. Like, there's going to be some, just in this first quarter, a potential Hurkacz Berrettini fourth round match. Oh my goodness, a potential Berrettini Fognini third round match. That's going to be freaking good. Fognini always brings his A game for New York. I don't really. Yeah,
I'm already telling you that I think you have too much hope for Berrettini, but we'll get to that.
Oh, you think he's going to go out early? Ooh,
early. Let's go out into the first round. Let's look first at the top half of the draw. It's Novak Djokovic, who headlines the top half with Alexander Zverev, who did win the Olympic gold medal winner in Tokyo Olympics this year. And Djokovic's path to the final, you already mentioned it, that it is kind of an easy one. He's unlikely to face his first true challenge until at least the quarterfinal in my predictions, where he could potentially face Polish rising star in Hubert Hurkacz, who is plus 8,000 to win the entire tournament. I love Hubert Hurkacz. He is one of my underdog favorites in this tournament. He's one of my underdog favorites for most tournaments, and I really like him for this talk. You're talking about Matteo Berrettini. I absolutely love Berrettini. I love his game. I love his height. And hey, you know what? He's pretty to look at. But let's be real. He is not the best player.
He is easy on the ice. It is very true. Very true.
But he is not the best player on hard court surfaces. And if you look at his part of the draw for Berrettini, he kind of has a tough test himself. There's on his part of the draw. I don't even think I have Berrettini running deep here. And he has Chardy right out of the gate. And Chardy is no player to underestimate because he is a big server on a hard surface, and he has experience here in some of the bigger tournaments. And potentially, I don't know, I really truly think that Berrettini could go out in the first round. And if he doesn't, he's definitely going to go out in the second round, where he could face Alexander Zverev. I mean, Berrettini is not going to make it past the second round, in my opinion, here at the US Open. What do you think?
Wow, that's a hot take. I guess I agree with your underlying point that Hurkacz is nasty and he's going to make it to the quarterfinal. Berrettini, I think that's probably going to be your round 4 match, just because Mute, Travaglia, Chardy, none of those guys move the needle for me. Even Fanini, he's not really in great form. So
here's the thing that you're talking about.
Berrettini will squeak his way into round 4.
Here's the thing that you're forgetting, though. What I love about betting on the Australian Open is that you have players who have fresh legs. They have all of the energy because they have no injuries, and they're coming straight out of the gate in the opening tournament out of the year. The US Open, it's a little bit different. You have players who do have an accumulation of injuries.
That's a great point.
And Berrettini is one of those players. Since Roland Garros, we saw him with that wrap around his thigh. Yep. And he showed it again in the last couple of tournaments that he's played. And he even had to take a pause mid-tournament in order to re-wrap his thigh. So that's clearly he has an injury that is lingering. Potentially could be an issue. And now you're going up against a good player in Jeremy Chardy, who is not anybody to underestimate in a major when you're not 100% physically. This is the point that I'm trying to get. Towards the end of the year, you have to focus on injuries because you have 8 months of tournament play compared to the Australian Open, where you have fresh legs.
No, you absolutely nailed that point. Number one, you're correct. And number two, the US Open is a fascinating handicap for exactly the reason you laid out, which is some of these players have played very well already this calendar year. Their rankings are high, and they've gotten good seeds because of that. And those guys are all carrying, if not injuries, at least fatigue, because they've played a lot of tennis and they've traveled all around the globe. They've been all over the globe.
During a pandemic.
During a pandemic. And yes, a lot of these guys are limping into this tournament. That's absolutely true. And that makes this fascinating because there will be some players in this draw who have underperformed all year, who literally, like, the pressure is on them now to kick ass here, or else lose ranking, lose status, not get the money that they need to get them through the tour on 2022. And so a lot of the incentives and a lot of there will be upsets, there will be chaos, absolutely, as you get past sort of the top flight players here. And really this sets up to be a dog type of tournament for the first couple of days. You're right. If Berrettini, and actually, and funny you mentioned this because I forgot it too. My biggest bet since Wimbledon was on Felix Auger-Aliassime against Berrettini at Cincinnati.
Exactly.
I went hard. I could not believe he was as huge an underdog as he was. And yeah, Berrettini clearly was not 100%. So yes, he
struggled against a clay quarter on hard court surface.
Chardy is just tough for me to wrap my head around. He can do it in best of 5, but he can push Berrettini deep. Like this is probably a decent over.
Exactly. Berrettini can win, but the question is Berrettini 100% to where he's going to win straight sets? Yeah. Unlikely. Is he going to win 4? Maybe, but most likely this is going 4 to 5 sets.
Yes.
And that's where the physical, and let's talk about that. I want to talk about that. The US Open is a little bit different compared to something like the Australian Open, because what I always talk about in tennis betting is the surfaces. And you want to talk about grass court surface, you want to talk about clay court surface, all of that matters. At the US Open, it doesn't matter as much. It is a hard court surface. It typically plays slower than something like the Australian Open, but more so what is more important to me is night matches versus day matches. The US Open likes to play night matches. That's where all of the ticket sales are. I have them myself, so I know for firsthand experience. With night matches, it neutralizes the big server, it neutralizes the big hitters. So now what instead you're looking for are the good baseliners and the good returners. You want to have the player who especially is playing the night game matches, who have more endurance, who can handle the longer rallies, and a player who is playing smart.
The so Roberto Bautista Goose of the
world. Exactly.
Right.
They're in
that guy's a freaking robot.
They can play the full 5 sets. And you know that you have confidence that he can handle the 5 sets compared to somebody who has given it their all in the first and their second. And then now did they run out of steam for the third and the fourth? Yeah. And then what happens in the 5th? Those are the players that I'm looking for the US Open. Yeah. The players who are coming into this with good health. The players who are coming into this who have a little bit more form in that they've been playing some of these preliminary tournaments prior to the US Open. And then those players who are good from the baseline and can have a little bit more endurance compared to the other players. So then with that said, looking at the top half of the draw, we do have Novak Djokovic who leads in the top half with Hubert Hurkacz, and then of course Alexander Zverev, and then Denis Shapovalov. These are the top half players of the draw. The match that potentially has me super interested is in the quarterfinals. Potentially, we could see Novak Djokovic face Hubert Hurkacz in the quarterfinals.
Beautiful.
That is what I have. This is what I like. I am telling you right off the bat, I love Hubert Hurkacz in this position. And I already did take a small features on Hubert Hurkacz plus 8,000 to win this tournament. And it's unlikely. It's probably not going to happen. It is a major tournament, and that's the difference. But what have we seen from Novak Djokovic? Like you mentioned earlier, we haven't seen him play since the Tokyo Olympics. We don't know where his game is. This is the very first time I actually looked at this. This is the very first time that Novak Djokovic has not played a preliminary tournament since his first US Open win in 2011, which means he has played every single Cincinnati Masters, the Canadian Masters. He has played a hardcore tournament prior to the US Open since his first US Open win in 2011. Yeah. He has not played this time around. We don't know what to do. We don't know what to do with that.
You know what? You're bringing up some really good points. And I want to point out the fact that Djokovic tends to get a feel for the court speed, get a feel for the rhythm of the serve coming at him. And he's a brick wall returning, once he gets his rhythm, right? And he's not really going to be tested until that quarterfinal match. Like there's really he's got they almost made it too easy for him to that point. And now you have absolutely got me relooking at this. Let's just talk numbers. Okay. Djokovic is massive favorite to win.
What numbers do you have?
Minus money here to win this tournament, right? Which boggles my mind. I can't even get close to those numbers where he's minus 150 right now. Good Lord Almighty!
Having played in a month.
No, my win percentage for Djokovic for this tournament is 32%. So I wouldn't play him at plus 150, let alone minus 150. And someone is going to have a shot at him. Hurkacz is going to have a shot at him. That'll be the first time he will have seen the ball will look like it is coming even faster than it actually is, because he will have not seen really, good quality service until that. And Hurkacz, by the way, has been pretty outstanding in the United States this season. Obviously, your Miami Masters champion, made a deep run at, was it Toronto? He made the deep run, or Cincinnati? I can't remember. He made a deep run in one of these two run-ups, but he is 10-1 to win the first quarter. I know you have 80-1 to win it all. 10-1 to win the first quarter, when if we think he's in a section with Berrettini who's hurt and no one else really.
No one else really.
It's that quarterfinal. What kind of price would you expect between Djokovic and Hurkacz in that quarterfinal match? Djokovic minus 300?
No, way more than that.
More than
I would say
minus 500?
Yeah, I would say about 500-600.
Okay. So then 10-1 for Hurkacz to win the quarter. You're going to have some pretty decent value then if it gets to that Djokovic-Hurkacz quarterfinal.
Well, you're talking about Hurkacz winning Miami. I think the important thing is, okay, he won Miami. Who did he beat in order to win that tournament? And he won a fantastic slate of players. He beat 3 top 10 players in Denis Shapovalov, Stefanos Tsitsipas, and Andrei Rublev, plus Milo Raonic and Jannik Sinner. Those are fantastic. That was a fantastic resume to win this tournament. Plus, he lost the semifinal at Wimbledon to Berrettini in 4 sets. Berrettini, grass is his best surface. He is a fantastic server, and he handled to manage him and kind of give him a little bit of a stress test right there.
Yeah, you're on something.
I love Hubert Hurkacz. I think his game is very similar, not right now, but it could develop into being something like a Roger Federer game, where he has that slice game. He is able to use that slice game not just as a defensive weapon, but he's able to use it as an offensive weapon. When you have that back slice, when you have the two-handed backhand plus that slice, you can utilize it both as an offensive and a defensive weapon. You utilize it, you're able to bring players both forward and back, side to side. The one thing that I don't like about his game is that his return does need to be more lethal. Hubert Hurkacz does a fantastic job at defending his serve, but his return needs to be more lethal. And I think that is the next part of his game that he needs to take him to the next level. Potentially, we could see him utilize that here at the US Open.
You know what? You are all over this already. This is a great breakdown. 80-1 is an insane price for him. He's much better than that. Absolutely belongs in the discussion with sort of the top tier players outside of Djokovic who have a chance here. The return game is what stops me from taking him outright.
Right.
Because he's going to run into Zverev in the semifinals if he beats Djokovic in the quarters, which I think is possible. Very possible. Yes. He's a live dog in that spot. I completely agree with you.
100%.
But you run into Zverev, and Zverev is serving like he is now without the double faulting issues.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
That is a super tough ask.
Yes.
His return game against Zverev. Like that feels like he gets mowed. And or 3-1, kind of like the last semifinal I saw at Wimbledon against Berrettini, right? Like it's not a great matchup for him. And similar, but Medvedev is a fine matchup for him. He can go toe to toe with Medvedev. So I guess really the Zverev head to head is what spooks me a little bit about 80-1 for him.
But I do like that you're thinking of him as a win first quarter bet. That is a great bet in my opinion, because the only way that he wins that first quarter is if he beats Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals. And I think we're going to get his odds right now.
That's if Djokovic gets there. I mean, let's not forget, he didn't even get to the quarterfinals last year.
He is bidding. He has been.
I am not expecting something like that again this year. But that was truly insane.
For those who are unfamiliar, I have taken a huge step back. I used to bet a lot bigger in tennis prior to the 2020 US Open. And the reason for that is because I took a pretty large number on Novak Djokovic to win the 2020 US Open. What happened? He got a little bit upset when he was playing against Pablo.
PCB? Yeah.
He was playing Pablo Carreño Busta. He was playing a little upset. He was playing down 5-6 in the first set. And he hit the ball enough to where he accidentally chucked a line judge right here in the throat. Perfect. Yep. In this little space. Look at this space. Perfect. He hit a line judge perfect in that space, was disqualified left, and he was disqualified from the tournament. And from that, I lost a big chunk of money. That was 2020 version. So not only do you have that, you also have that we haven't seen him play since the Tokyo Olympics. And this is the first time ever in his career that he hasn't played a preliminary tournament prior to the US Open. Those are 3 reasons why I am not taking Novak Djokovic at -150 to win the US Open. And then right out of the gate, he is playing Jan-Lennard Struff, he should win this match, yes, but Struff is not exactly a easy player to get through because he does have a big serve, he does have a big return, he does have a big forehand, so it is going to be somewhat of a test. If he can win in straight sets, all the power to you, but I think more likely it is going 4 or 5 sets just because Djokovic is out of rhythm. And then you want to potentially face that's in the second round, and then potentially in the third round you're facing either Katie Nishikori or Mackenzie McDonald, who I think are both the same player. It's just a version. It's just a younger version of Mackenzie McDonald is a younger version of Katie Nishikori. Those are both great returners on hard court surfaces, and I think he should get through that just fine as well. But it is also going to be a test as of you're out of rhythm. How many sets is it going to take you to get through this player? And then in the fourth round, you potentially could face either Karatsev, Thompson, Brooksby, Diminar, or Fritz. The only player that I think is going to change Djokovic's route to the final is a big server like Taylor Fritz. And I think that's going to be the only player that can kind of disrupt where he is right now. So out of all I think the US Open is very hard. This bracket is the entire tournament is very hard to predict match by match, first round, second round, third round, fourth round, who's going to win each section. But I do think the only player that is going to disrupt somebody like Novak Djokovic is either 1, a big server, or 2, a great returner, great baseline game, somebody who has variety like Hubert Hurkacz. And that could happen in the quarterfinal.
I dig it. I think that's a fair play. And honestly, my gut says Djokovic gets by, but he takes some damage. And my gut is that my gut is that Djokovic gets by Zverev, but he takes some damage, and then he's a little bit depleted in the final against the Medvedev, and it's not a great matchup in the heat and the sweltering humidity. I think our underlying thesis of Djokovic -150 not being a fair price is spot on. -150. I mean, come on.
It's too much. It's way too much. And this is coming from somebody who is an absolutely diehard. I love Novak Djokovic. Yes. He is my favorite player on the planet. I want to have breakfast with him every morning, and I do because I have a cup of coffee. I have a coffee mug with his face on it. And Djokovic, you and I have coffee every day. But -150 as a sports bettor, that's too much.
Too much. What was the price you got for Djokovic at Wimbledon?
+150.
What the hell? Like, that was a great price. That was a great price. He owns that tournament, and everybody else was weak at that point. Nobody else is good on grass. He's the only guy with grass experience. This is the exact opposite. This is the exact opposite. This is the thing about hard court. This is his hardest. Okay. Now, if Rafa Nadal did not exist on this earth, then Djokovic would have many more French Opens, in my opinion. Okay.
Yes.
And honestly, I think Nadal aside, the US Open is sort of the worst case for him because of the conditions, because of the court speed. It's just, this is not a good, this is, the Australian Open is so good for him. The Wimbledon is so good for him. This is not the same thing. And he should he should never go off at -150 for this tournament. Not ever.
100% agree. So then what odds do you have for Hurkacz to win the first quarter?
Best I can find right now is 10-1. I'm going to shop around though. I'd like to get a little bit better than that. Realistically, I think, I think your points about Djokovic getting surprisingly tested by a Struff, by a Fritz on his way there, that could depress Djokovic's price in that match. So I think if you are inclined to believe Hurkacz can get the upset against Djokovic, you need to take the quarter price instead of waiting for that match, because You know,
I agree.
From Pam's price, the best you're going to see is maybe plus 400, plus 450. You know,
Right now you're getting 10 to 1.
Right now you're getting 10 to 1, right?
Exactly. So then the next point is the second quarter of the draw. We have Alexander Zverev, who headlines that. You were talking earlier about his double faults. They have been an issue. They have been an issue not just in 2021, but his entire career. If he can clean this up, Alexander Zverev is easily a top 3 player in the world. Now the problem, double faults. He had 9 aces, 20 double faults versus Felix Auger-Aliassime at Wimbledon. He lost in 5 sets, but yet he won in games, service points. So he controlled the entire match, but his double fault is exactly the single pinpoint as to what lost him that match. However, since losing to Felix Auger-Aliassime at Wimbledon, he has won. Alexander Zverev has won back-to-back titles on hard court surface at both the Olympics and Cincinnati. And combined, he had 3 double faults in Tokyo, 13 double faults in Cincinnati. He has had 16 double faults in 11 matches played. So either he fixed it up or he's just having a really good run as of now. What do you think about Alexander Zverev winning the second quarter?
I think he fixed it, and I don't know what it was, and I don't know what's going on with his personal life, and I don't know what's going on with him in the media, and I don't know if that's distraction ultimately proves too much in this environment. He's never been an especially good best of 5 player. He punts too, he doesn't have enough urgency early in these tournaments to where he takes care of business and limits his court time early in these tournaments, and the fatigue tends to catch up to him. And in general, to the up through Wimbledon, I'll say I can draw a line on my opinion of Zverev was very clear. Back him in best of 3. Forget about it for the slams, because he has a specific rhythm thing of playing every day, and he has the youth and sort of the bounce back capability to go out there and do it every day in a best of 3 tournament that he doesn't have when his opponent gets a day of rest. And so I've never really felt like he had the chops to be a best of 5 guy. He obviously was a finalist last year. Again, if you're a fan of tennis, if you're a fan of of high quality tennis, do not watch Zverev's matches from last season at the US Open. He went to the finals. Those matches were so ugly. It was a war of attrition, and he squeaked through. The final against Team was literally like no one wanted to win. It was absolutely brutal. But having that in his in the back of his head, having made a run to the semifinals at Roland Garros this year, having made a run to the round of 16 in Wimbledon this year, winning the Tokyo Olympic gold medal, which he has been very outwardly like, this was a big deal. Very, very proud of that. Feels like it was, as important as winning a slam, although I don't know that many other people in the tennis world would say that. He obviously holds that very highly. That's given him some confidence. His run at Cincinnati was devastatingly good. The only player to take a set on him in Cincinnati was Stefanos Tsitsipas, and that was, I thought he was clearly the better player in that Tsitsipas match. There was a little drama, of course, with Tsitsipas's bathroom breaks and texting his dad, but we'll put that aside. Ultimately, I think Zverev is performing at a level where there's really no one in this draw in the second quarter that I don't think he is at least a minus 400 favorite against head to head.
Even myself, who has him facing either in the quarterfinal, he could face somebody in Busta, in Korda, in Basilashvili, Opelka, Kachanov, Shapovalov. I think he beats all of those players. I am not at all worried. I am not at all worried that he can have a problem against any single one of those players. So I myself do have Zverev winning the second quarter, potentially facing Novak Djokovic in the semifinals and or Hubert Hurkacz, depending on how that quarterfinal goes. I like Zverev in this spot.
We agree. I played him minus 110 to win Q2. I think that fair price is minus 150-ish.
Perfect. Then moving at the bottom half of the draw, we have Daniil Medvedev, who is the world number 2. He headlines the bottom half of the bottom half of the draw, along with American and John Isner, who is the biggest server on the ATP Tour. Medvedev, he also, in my opinion, has a pretty clear path to the final. What makes Medvedev so deadly is that he is an absolute backboard. I've always said for the last couple of years is that he is a taller version of Novak Djokovic. He is 6'6" and he returns absolutely everything. His game is about outlasting his opponent and wearing him down from the baseline. And if you want to beat Daniil Medvedev, then you have to bring variety in your game. And there's not a lot of players on the ATP Tour who are able to do that. And there's not a lot of players, especially in his quarter of the draw, who are able to do that. So what do you think about Daniil Medvedev winning his quarter of the draw in quarter 3?
Oh, Medvedev's his bottom seed, right? He's Q4.
Seed.
He's
Correct.
Q4, yeah.
Quarter 4.
Q4. Medvedev wins this half of the draw, and I don't think it's especially a sweat, honestly.
You are so okay. I will bring.
Okay, I want to hear. I do want to hear the red team case against this.
Yes.
But
he should win statistically, based off of the type of player that he is, based off the abilities that he has. Daniil Medvedev should win the fourth quarter of the draw. However,
believe it or not, I have a slightly higher percent chance that Medvedev makes the final than I do Djokovic makes the final.
The one thing that your models and your computer systems don't read is that Daniil Medvedev sucks in humidity and hot temperatures. Weather conditions is a huge problem. It is, you want to talk about warm, you want to talk about humid. What do you think New York is in September? Hot and humid. And we have seen Daniil Medvedev cramp in this exact style of weather. What did we see him do in Miami? Cramp. He hobbled literally on one leg in order to beat Alexei Popyrin. And then he also lost in Miami. He lost at the Olympics, and he lost in Cincinnati. Though Cincinnati, he did hit a camera in order to kind of like throw him off his game.
Weird.
But
what do you think happened there?
He hit a camera and then he threw him off. But then mentally in the third set, you saw him huffing and puffing, and he was sweating and dripping, and he didn't have the mental fixation in order to handle a best of 3 sets in a 70% humidity weather condition. Okay. So you've seen this happen multiple times where Medvedev does not have the physical capability to handle heat and humidity in August, in September, in New York.
Yeah, that's not crazy, but at the same time, if you look at the last 2 years, and really, I would focus even more on 2019 than 2020 because 2020 was so bananas. He really, really, really does try to craft his calendar in a way that he is peaking in the U.S. swing, right? He doesn't give a shit about clay. He's not a good clay player. He doesn't really care. He'll take I got some wins. I got some money. Cool, whatever. He doesn't really have the game to excel on grass yet. Maybe he gets there as he matures. And he doesn't quite have the Djokovic level on the fast hard like Australia that he's ever really going to go toe to toe with Djokovic in Australia, which we saw this year. Like he got demolished. Yeah. Laughable. And do you remember what the price was on that match? It was insane. It was like Djokovic was like minus 150 or something. Like I still can't believe that it was that low, but irrespective, he does tend to craft his calendar where he's peaking now. And I think that matters to a degree, right? Like if you go back to 2019, he made the finals in Canada, lost to Nadal. He made the finals at Cincinnati. He beat Goffin. He beat Djokovic, by the way, in the semifinals on that run in Cincinnati. And then he went to the US Open, and in the heat and humidity, in the sweaty mess that was Flushing Meadows that August, September timeframe, he pushed Nadal to 5 sets, which blew me away. Honestly, like I think I lost a lot of money on that match, if I remember correctly, because I thought Nadal was going to wipe the court with him. And a lot of it was on that reason of like the conditions just aren't great. It's too hot for him. He's not going to do well. And he had just had like a marathon match against Wawrinka, and then a relatively close match against Dimitrov. But the fact that he pushed Nadal to 5. Oh, again, after going down 0-2, he came back and won the next 2 sets. Like that was, I think, the moment that my opinion on him flipped a little bit, and I was like, okay, no, this guy is legit. He is a force. He's a factor. I thought he got a little. I thought he choked a little bit against Team last year in the semifinals. Now these courts and the court speeds were so perfect for Team's game, like just absolutely perfect last year. It was the perfect setup for Team. He wasn't exhausted from the clay swing like he usually is, and the court speed really plays into his strengths. And so that was the perfect storm. And I'm willing to give Medvedev a little bit of a pass for losing that semifinal match. I think he wins his first slam here this year at the US Open. I saw enough. There was enough quality out of his play in Canada, in Cincinnati. Again, he did drop a set to Bublik in Canada, ultimately comes through. He did drop a set to Hubert Hurkacz, formerly mentioned in Canada, but came through. Got a little revenge, by the way, from against Hurkacz, who beat him at Wimbledon. And then he handled Isner, he handled Opelka comfortably handled those guys in the semifinals and finals, which really told me that like his return game is finally tuned right now, and he's going to be a tough out here. And the bottom half of the draw, I think, is weaker than the top. Overall,
100%.
And his fourth quarter, I mean, these are the seeded players in his quarter: Marin Cilic, Dan Evans, Grigor Dimitrov, Diego Sebastian Schwartzman, Isner, who he just handled.
Not just recently, but he handles comfortably in multiple matches.
Davidovich Fokina, Rude. Those are the seeded guys 100%. in his bracket. And then the other guys, there's always a couple of guys who are unseeded, but who have a pulse, who you're like, ooh, I wonder where he's going to end up. He might be a tough out, right? None of those guys ended up in Q4. Q4 is super, super weak. And so I think he gets through to the semifinals pretty comfortably. Whereas Q3 looks like a war to me.
Exactly. I think it's why I skipped over it, because yes, I fully 100% agree that there are plenty of quality players who are on the bottom half of the draw. You have Andre Rublev, you have John Isner, and then of course Stefanos Tsitsipas, who pushed Novak Djokovic to 5 sets at Roland Garros. But if Medvedev can handle the heat, if Medvedev can handle the humidity, then this part of the draw, the entire bottom half, is his. Now, if you're talking about the third quarter, which I skipped over, it's because exactly what you said is kind of a bit of a war zone. I think it can go to anybody, especially in the quarterfinals. My prediction is Andre Rublev versus Stefanos Tsitsipas, and it's a complete toss-up from there. And whoever Medvedev faces, he could defeat anybody from the third quarter of the draw.
Yeah. In the back of my head, I wanted to try to make a case for some of these other guys who are in the mix in Q3. But the prices aren't right. Like a guy like Roberto Bautista Agut, he's a robot. He's a machine. His game is not fun to watch. He's not a guy that I really root for ever. But in the heat, if this is as like we expect, if this is a hot, humid tournament in general, he's gonna be a tough out ultimately. And I could see him making a little bit of run here, but there's some other informed players that he's gonna have to go through Kyrgios, he's gonna have to go through Ruusuvuori, he's gonna have to go through FAA, and then Rublev, and then Tsitsipas in order to get out of this section of the draw. And so at a price like 14-1 to win Q3, that's not enough. That's just not enough. It's what I'm much rather have a one shot on Hurkacz at 10-1, where he just really has to get past the one guy, than 14-1 on RBA, where he's gonna have to do it all himself. So I'll probably bet some RBA pretty round by round here, instead of taking a future on him. But he's a guy that I have circled in this third quarter that's going to be a tough out.
I don't think that if you will get further than potentially the first or the second round, he has Nick Kyrgios from Australia right out of the gate in the first round. And Kyrgios, one, does he give a shit? And two, does he give it? It's a major, so maybe he does care a little bit more than typical. But two, he's also fighting an injury himself. He had a He's had a couple of injuries facing in this season, and he doesn't even play too often enough to where he doesn't have the physical stamina to handle a best of 5. So I'm not necessarily worried about Kyrgios, but of course it is a big serve. So it is somebody that you want to worry about. But then Agut could be facing Emil Rusevori in the second round, and that he's no easy joke. He's no easy feat. Rusevori is more in form, so I think out of the second, for me, the third quarter, I would have either Rublev or Tsitsipas. It's a coin flip for me. I don't even know. I don't even care about the third quarter because I know that whoever Medvedev, if he gets through comfortably because of the heat and the humidity, he is defeating anybody in the third quarter of the draw, whether it be Andre Rublev, whether it be Francis Tiafoe, whether it be Emil Rusevori, or Felix Auger-Aliassime, even Stefanos Tsitsipas. Any of these guys, Medvedev can comfortably handle, in my opinion, on hard court surface here in August at the US Open.
Yeah, we agree. I think I don't have a good price on Medvedev to reach the final. But I can tell based on
what's that number?
I don't have a good price for it, just based on where I've shopped so far. Let me try to find one. But yeah, it's anything in the ballpark of plus. It should be like plus 175, plus 200-ish, and that's a play. That's a play. I mean, I ultimately, if you put my feet to the fire, he's my pick to win the whole shebang.
Absolutely.
And currently, I don't love the price this moment. He is down to 4-1. So that's gotten beat up a little bit. After Wimbledon, you could have got it in the 650, 600 range. And at that point, I loved it there. Now it's gotten a little short. But I still think my pick is, I think, again, macro, looking at the whole thing, Djokovic, I think gets there. I think he gets to the final, but I think it'll be a lot of attrition and a lot of fatigue on the way there, which opens the door for Medvedev.
So let me bring up a statistic from that you're talking about. I think he gets there. Djokovic in 2016 at the Rio Olympics, he lost in the first round to Juan Martín del Potro, who I miss. Delpo, my boy. He's potentially coming back to the tour. We'll see him here potentially soon in 2022. But he lost in the round of 64 here at the Olympics in 2016. What happened in the very next tournament? Djokovic made it to the US Open final, and he lost to Stan Wawrinka in 4 sets. Now, Wawrinka kind of owns him at major tournaments. Wawrinka is a huge server. So it's not necessarily that something is like, oh, he lost in the US, he lost in Tokyo, he lost in the Rio Olympics, and then he lost back-to-back at the US Open. No, Stan Wawrinka owns Novak Djokovic in a best of 5. That's just kind of like the facts if you look at it.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So it's not.
I had a future on Stan for that tournament, by the way.
Oh, did you?
I believe it or not, I had. This was not even my play, but someone who I'm friends with who caps tennis was like, I don't know. I think Angie Kerber on the women's side and Stan on the men's side, like these prices aren't right. And I parlayed them at the old 5 dimes.
Oh my God.
5 dimes. I parlayed Kerber and Stan, and the payoff was something like 200-1.
Wow.
And I think, did Kerber beat Serena? She might have. I think Kerber had a huge run there, got the win, and then Stan beating. And honestly, like I'm not using history as my guide here, but if you made me make a prediction, Medvedev 3-1 over Djokovic in the final.
But you know what? We've already seen this also as well. We all had like, oh, Medvedev could be in contention here at the Australian Open final. What happened? He lost in straight sets, kind of like got soul crushed to Novak Djokovic at the Australian Open just in January. So we have seen this exact situation before. I'm not going to underlook Novak Djokovic. I just don't want to pay a minus 150 price for him to see him win the calendar slam, which is most important for this tournament. Is he has the potential here to win the calendar slam, but to be the first ATP player since Rod Laver since 1969 to do so. Is he capable? 100%.
Yeah, of course.
Does his draw face up to him for him to do it? 100%. Is he match ready? That is the one question that I have, because we have not seen him play since the Tokyo Olympics. And as earlier mentioned, this is the first time he is entering the US Open, not having played a preliminary tournament in his career since first winning the US Open in 2011.
Yeah.
If you want to give me the easy answer, then we do see an Australian Open rematch between Djokovic and Medvedev. The realistic answer, in my opinion, is that there are a few players that have a legitimate shot at winning. And as you mentioned, one of those legitimate players is Daniil Medvedev. We haven't seen him play since the Olympics. Djokovic's first title since 2011. He hasn't played since. He hasn't skipped a preliminary event since. And for months now, Djokovic has been nothing but hearing winning the calendar slam, winning the calendar slam, winning the calendar slam. How is that going to be? How is that pressure going to play on him? We have no idea, because we haven't seen it from any player before.
Yeah, he peaked this summer, guys. He's on his way down the mountain. And honestly, like, he took a big gap in time in the hopes that he can kind of have a little second bump before he really has to, kind of rest up and recharge for next year's Australia. But and honestly, even beyond just the calendar slam, this is number 20, right?
21.
This would be the sorry,
breaker.
not number 20, but this would be the all-time leader in slams if he wins.
Correct. If Djokovic were to win the US Open, not only would he
pressure, man. That's a lot of pressure, man.
Not only would Djokovic win the calendar slam for the first time, be the only ATP player since Rod Laver, and that's 1969, but Djokovic would also break the calendar slam most wins, surpassing Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal at 20, because we have 20, 20, 20. Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, and Novak Djokovic. And Djokovic is the only one of three who is playing this tournament. So then who is going to win the US Open? I think realistically, there are 4 players, and Djokovic at minus 135 currently, or minus 150, depending what book you shop, is one of them. Medvedev plus 450 is worth the grab. Alexander Zverev plus 550, I think, is also worth the grab. And my long shot would be Hubert Hurkacz. It's not the best answer. I think there's realistically 4 players who can win this tournament, but I think it's an honest answer that this is a difficult tournament to handicap, and taking a futures bet isn't necessarily the best bet.
Your points are all very valid. And honestly, the fact that Djokovic is going to have to go likely going to have to go through Hurkacz, Zverev, Medvedev to do it is very, very, very tough. Exactly. And as I sit here and look at my numbers, who is the most likely winner? It's Djokovic. He's the only guy. He's the only guy that I think Marin Cilic has won a slam. Anyone else in this entire draw besides Djokovic ever won a slam?
That was the 1 year that, honestly, let's talk about that for a quick second. That was the 1 year that Marin Cilic was God Cilic. You could not get past him. His serve was 1,000% on, and he has never since been able to replicate. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. That was a fluke. That was a fluke in a Grand Slam tournament. I'm not even at all worried. So it is Novak Djokovic, and then who?
And no one. Yeah. So basically, Djokovic is the only player in this entire draw who's ever won it before.
Yeah.
Won a slam, not even this slam, but a slam. And it's the door is open. These guys know it. The younger class knows it. They're not afraid of playing this guy. They're not afraid of him in this moment.
But I do think that is something worth mentioning, is that the biggest thing that people forget is that throughout the year, these ATP players are competitive in a best of 3. This is a best of 5. And how do you beat Novak Djokovic? You give him everything you've got in the first set and you win. Congratulations. You give him everything you've got and you win in the second set. Congratulations. Can you
Didn't work out for Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Exactly. Can you keep up that level of aggression, that level of play in a best of 5? Because that is exactly what Novak Djokovic is going to bring you. He is going to win the next 2 sets. And in the 5th set, where it matters the most, are you going to win? 1, control your mental stability, your mental toughness. And number 2, do you have the physical stamina to handle a best of 5 against the best returner in the world? And the more often than not, the answer is no. That is what makes Novak Djokovic the world number 1.
Yeah, it's true. And
God damn, it is beautiful to watch.
Look, if he pulls it off and I don't have any money on it, am I going to be sad? No, not really. I'm not laying minus 150. It's a stupid price. It's insane. The market has lost its mind. This is not fair. It's not a fair price. And I honestly, by my numbers, the difference between win probability between Djokovic and Medvedev, razor thin. And one of those guys you can bet minus 150. One of those guys you can bet plus 400. Like it's just the market is broken. You know, people have lost their minds.
I think out of everything that you said, the bet that I like most is Hubert Hurkacz to win his quarter over Djokovic at plus. What did you say? It was 10 to 1? 10 to 1, because you're going to get a better, it's most likely, based off of the draw now, that you are going to get a Hurkacz versus Djokovic in the quarterfinal. And your odds at 10 to 1 right now for him to win is way better than what you're going to get in the quarterfinal, which he might be probably, I would say, around 4 to 5 to 1.
I'm right there with you. I gotta put a little credit on Zverev Q2 at minus 110 as a solid play too. There's no way that's 52% chance of happening. That's much closer to like 60, 65. He's that much better than the next best guy. The fact that the top seeded guy in Q2 besides Zverev is Shapovalov, and dude, what the hell happened to him, man? Shapovalov has been a ghost this entire hardcourt swing. He's been a disaster. I think you can reasonably write him off. I don't think he loses to Delbonis, but Tommy Paul could get him. Khachanov should be favored against him realistically.
Now, what'd you do? The last podcast you mentioned, you do a rollover money line parlay on the favorite if you think he's going to win. Djokovic, do you think, already knowing that he's potentially going to face Hurkacz and then Zverev and then Medvedev, would you do a money line rollover parlay on Djokovic instead of taking the minus 150?
1,000,000% yes. 1,000,000% yes. The idea that you're going to get a better price at minus 150 than you would get just on those 3 matches parlayed, I think is insane. And kind of betting futures in tennis 101 that we talked about last time for Wimbledon.
The heart of the draw.
Right. If all the players with the pulse were on the bottom half of this draw and Djokovic was on the top, then just bet the future and let the guys on the bottom go kill each other. Who cares? Someone will emerge and Djokovic will dispatch him. Whatever. That's not this. That's not the way this is set up at all. He's going to have a tough test 3 matches in a row. And my numbers would make that parlay about plus 120. Those 3 players.
So here's what I'm doing. I'm not taking Djokovic at minus 135, minus 150, whatever odds you can find to win the US Open. I love him. He is my favorite player in the world. And I absolutely 100% hope that he does achieve this because it is going to be monumental. And I am so excited. But I'm not betting it. Instead, the only player that I am taking on the futures market is Hurkacz to win at plus 8,000 odds.
What's exciting?
And then Hurkacz to win the first quarter. I really love your thought process there on Hurkacz to win in the first quarter, because if he does win the first quarter, it is because he beat Djokovic in that part of the draw.
Yeah, right. And then honestly, if we're right about Q2 and Zverev comes through, that's just a nasty matchup for Hubie.
I do also love it. I do also have a Zverev features, but I do not have a Medvedev features because I've seen how he plays in humidity and in warmer temperatures. It's not for him. And I'm not excited to place, even if minus 450, minus 500 odds, I don't want to do that. So for this tournament, Pew futures market, for the futures market, I'm looking at the longer shots, and those longer shots to me are 2 players, and it is in Alexander Zverev at plus 550 and Hubert Hurkacz at plus 8,000.
I was wrong, by the way. Djokovic was minus 116 against Medvedev in the Aussie final.
Oh my
minus
God.
Minus 116.
Give me all the money. Give me all
what the hell?
Money.
What was going on there? Imagine if you laid minus 150 now on Djokovic, and then you get to the final after he's had just gone to war with Hurkacz, gone to war with Zverev,
Wow.
gets through, and then he's minus 116, and you're like, why did I lay minus 150 2 weeks ago? What the hell was I thinking? that's
money line rollover parlay.
That's exactly what you'll be thinking.
So that is what we're doing. I think the consensus is money line rollover parlay on Novak Djokovic.
Yep.
I personally am taking Hubert Hurkacz to win the first quarter, because if he beats Djokovic, it is in the first quarter at 10-1 odds. And I'm also taking Alexander Zverev to win it all at plus 550. And then Medvedev, he could very well win this, but I'm not going to have a bet on him because I don't trust him in this humidity. And I know that it is hot as shit.
Okay. My official pick is Zverev gets through Q2.
Okay.
I like Hurkacz at 10-1 now, but if I take it, I'm almost certainly going to look for an opportunity to bet Joker in that quarterfinal some way, maybe live,
yes.
but some way. And then
I agree.
And then ultimately, I think Medvedev makes the final without dropping a set. I'll predict that now. He gets there. He gets to the final clean, and Medvedev over Joker in the final 3-1.
I guarantee you that he will drop a set to Marin Cilic.
Oh, here's the best part. You ready? Medvedev loses the first set to Joker in the final, and then reels off 3 straight.
Ooh, so exacta. What
tables,
is it?
The turn, how the turntables turn. How the turntables turn, where Djokovic, who has used so much gas to get there, feels like it's important for him to use all his bullets early. He goes hard out of the gate. He wins the first set convincingly, and then Medvedev just eats his lunch.
So you're talking about an exacta. So it would be Djokovic win. No, hold on. The exacta would be Medvedev lose, win.
Correct.
Oh, those are going to be some good odds.
I know my fair price on that's going to be shorter than the market, but I bet you can get that at something like 20-1 the day of. That's
kind of really exciting. I like that.
That'll be fun.
My prediction, my official prediction is that yes, Djokovic, because I can't help it. He does end up winning. He does. My boy, my man, my soul, my number one, my sweet pea. Novak Djokovic is going to break the title. He's going to break the record. He's going to hit 21 Grand Slam records. He's going to do it all. He's going to meet Brad Laver. Novak Djokovic is all. I tweeted it out a couple of months ago that Novak Djokovic is a living god, and we're mere mortals for experiencing his greatness. And I believe that this tournament is the exact type of tournament to prove that. Now, do I want to bet it? No, but as a fan,
I think you're 100%. Correct. I think you're correct, but it happens in Melbourne, not Flushing Meadows.
And I love that. And that's perfect.
Melbourne is his court, man. Yes. Melbourne is his court. He owns that place. They're going to rename it Djokovic someday.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. All right. So then call your prediction right now. Who is winning the 2021 US Open?
Daniil Medvedev.
I'll say Alexander Zverev.
Oh, well, okay. All right. Little curveball there. Okay.
Ooh, all right.
If your guy Hurkacz beats Joker in the quarters, Zverev Medvedev as a final, as somebody who has a big position on Medvedev, it's plus 650 plus 600. I'm going to be sweating that. I'm going to be sweating bullets because Zverev scares me against Medvedev.
There we go.
Two guys that have made the final here before.
Yep.
Two guys that are peaking right now. Your Cincy winner versus your Toronto winner. Ooh,
exactly.
Man. Ooh, I don't like this. Ooh, I don't like this. I don't want this. I don't want this. I want Djokovic to beat Zverev. Yeah. Ooh.
And then just quickly looking at the women's side, I don't want to go through the draw or anything. I do have the futures on Ash Barty at plus 300. I think plus 300 on Ash Barty is value.
Cool.
She is a fantastic woman. She is a fantastic player. She missed 11 months of tennis, and since then she decided, hey, I'm not going to be living in Australia. I'm going to be focusing my time here on the US, here on the tour. And what has she done? 5 tour finals, 4 tour titles, including Wimbledon. No woman is coming to this with more form than Ash Barty plus 300. You give me plus value on the single best handed female player in the WTA who can have that back slice, who has that slice, who has that double-handed backhand. I love her. She has variety in her game. Plus 300. I've already made a bet.
I like it.
What do you
I
think?
don't have a strong opinion at all on the women's side, but Ash Barty is the best player in this draw by a landslide. She's the best.
And it could also be because I'm going to see Ash Barty on Tuesday.
I mean, she's the best, and her. I mean, the women's draw looks so tough, man. I can't tell you. There's so many women who are.
This is a personal heart bet.
I like it. No, I like it. Yeah, no, it's a fun one. It's a fun one.
Well, then that does it. We have our players we are looking at. I mean, it really is true that we are looking at Novak Djokovic at minus 150 as a money line rollover parlay. We're looking at Alexander Zverev at plus 550, who could potentially win it all. That's my pick. Daniil Medvedev plus 350 is Will Capper's pick. And then Hubert Hurkacz is going to be my long shot at plus 8,000 to win the tournament. Unlikely to happen, but you could find him at 10-1 odds to win the first quarter. And then Ash Barty at plus 300, who is the tournament favorite to win the WTA side. You can follow you can follow Drew Dinsick at Whale_Capper on Twitter. You can follow me at Pamela M35. And that does it for another episode of Stack of Sets.